Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Åshild and today I'm gonna give you the finale of my Pan That palette. I have been working on this palette throughout the whole year. This is the Zoeva and Taupe palette, one of my favorite palettes. I've really enjoyed using this. This has been probably, I'm not sure, I think it's the only one that I haven't really been sick of using. I've really enjoyed using this throughout the whole year. There are times of the year where these shades are more appropriate to use and more enjoyable. But other than that, I've really enjoyed this palette. Now I will say that it was getting old and some of the pigmentation in some of the shades has kind of gone down. The eyeshadows has lost its quality a little bit. You could really tell that in some of the shades, but a lot of the shades has, what's it called? Retained their quality. So last time I said I wanted to hit sort of the edge of one of the shades and I managed to reach my goal. Let's take a look at the progress. And the final result, I shall say. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, this shade right here, Gallery, I've used that shade 161 times. So that is the shade I've used the most, and this is also the shade that I managed to hit the edge of right there. Yeah, I really enjoyed this shade. It was perfect to put in the crease, and I think I'm gonna miss it, but I do have other shades in my collection, other eyeshadows in my collection that are very similar to this one. So I think I'm good. The one I used the most after that is the one called Stitch by Stitch, 139 times, which is this one. Finally, you can actually see that I've used it, because for the longest time you couldn't really see that I've even made some progress in it, but now you can definitely tell there's a good dip in there. Just a regular creamy matte shade that is so convenient to have in a palette, and I think every palette should have a shade that's similar to your skin tone. So I was really glad that this one was here, but it was rather not so exciting shade to try to pan. So I never really tried to pan it, but I pretty much used it every single time I did my makeup when I used this palette. So I have two shades that I used 122 times each. One was Spun Pearl and the other one was Exquisite. So Spun Pearl is this one. This is the one that I pretty much always used as an inner corner highlight, and I really enjoyed it for that. But it's not a shadow I'm really gonna miss, because as long as you have something light and shimmery in your inner corner, you can use pretty much anything. But it was a good shade to have in the palette. Yeah, I did enjoy using it, and I did use quite a bit of it. The other one that I had used for 122 times was the shade Exquisite, and this is like a matte lilac color. It is my favorite color, I would say, in this palette, which is why I want to try to depot this, and we'll see. But yeah, I really enjoyed using this as a crease shade. I sometimes mixed it with this lighter shade to make a nice crease shade, because it was a little bit too dark on its own. But I also really like to use it to deepen up the look in my outer corner. Next is Handmade with 114 uses, sorry. So Handmade was this shade. This was a shade that grew on me. I didn't really love it at first, but I found ways to use it, mainly on the lid, but it combined with other shades like outline. It really looked nice with outline. It worked very well with Wrapped in Silk as well. So yeah, I learned to really love this shade. Very beautiful, like a peachy, how do I describe this shade? Peachy metallic, I guess you can call it. But it's not really a warm peach, like a cool peach, if that's even a thing. Next we have, with 94 uses, that is the Hour by Hour shade. This was a shade I, in the beginning, forced myself to use. Then I found that it was quite nice to use it as, like, to just apply a little bit of shadow along my lower lash line. I thought it was really nice for that, or to combine it with other shades to lighten that other shade. Yeah, so I use it for that. I also use it as a transition shade and sometimes a crease shade on its own, but I just found it to be a little bit too light for that. So again, not a shade I will miss too much. Then the next shade I used, so next is Outline with 53 uses. Outline was this shade. I did learn to, I thought I was gonna really struggle to pan this one, which, yeah, it took some work, but I learned to enjoy this one as well. These two were quite similar, but yeah, nice shade to kind of put either all over the lid or on the half outside of the lid. I liked it for that, or just to combine it with lighter shades like Handmade. And then right next to it was Wrapped in Silk with 50 uses. So again, these were, I kind of used them the same way, sort of. And I think I enjoy them both equally, I would say. Again, these were shades that had lost a little bit of their pigment. They had become a little bit more dry than I remember when I first got the palette. So for that reason, it's easier to forget about them and not miss them so much, but they are really nice shades. Next is Old Master. And this was in the beginning of, or before starting the project. This was the shade I thought I was going to enjoy the most using because it's a very unique shade to my collection. And I ended up probably disliking it, not the most, because Shears and Voila is the one I dislike the most, but right after that comes Old Master. It's a nice shadow in the palette. It's a darker, really cool lavender shade. Looks nice, but it looks really muddy and just like dirty on the lid, not very flattering. So I really forced myself to use this one. And then lastly is the Shears and Voila. And I used Shears and Voila for 21 times, or 21 uses. And I really had to force myself to use it every single time. It was not a shadow I enjoyed using, but I do feel like I remember it being a lot better when I first got the palette. So this is probably one that has like completely lost its pigment. I can try to swatch it for you guys. Yeah, there it is. You can barely see it. So yeah, I'm very pleased with where I got by the end of this project. I'm glad I managed to hit pan in all but 2 shades. I almost finished this one, I would say. I do wish I would have been able to finish like 1 or 2 shades completely, but hey, I did a good job. I'm gonna pat myself on the shoulders for doing a pretty good job, and I did reach my goal, which was essentially to really feel that I've gotten good use out of this palette, and I did. I'm really happy I decided to choose this as my Pan That palette for this year. Next year, I'm gonna do something completely different I've never done before, and I'm really, really excited about this just because I have so many eyeshadow palettes that I truly enjoy. And I've seen myself neglecting completely my single eyeshadows. So for that reason, for next year, I'm gonna do a Pan Those Eyeshadows project. And I really hope you wanna follow me along on that project. And it might not be exactly the rules that you're supposed to have. I'm not sure. I need to adjust them to what would work for me. So we'll see. And I'm gonna do a video on that very soon. But that was my finale of the Pan That palette. I'm really, really grateful that so many of you decided to follow along and watch me do this project. It's been really, really nice. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you will come along and follow me on my next project. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great day. Bye!